So I've been wheeling and grooving and tiring out my arm muscles all freaking day. And I gotta be blunt with you. I gotta be really honest and upfront and let you know that Drag Drive has got to be one of the worst full-price Nintendo titles that they've ever released. And definitely that they've released in the Switch era over the last 8 years. Wait, what? What's that? You serious? Drag Drive isn't full price. Drag Drive isn't 60, isn't 50, isn't 40, isn't 30. Drag Drive is $20, and that has to frame our conversation. And while I don't think Drag Drive is the must-play Switch 2 exclusive, it's actually fun. And my goal in this video is to help you decide if you want to buy this game. Okay, look, a lot of people are just writing off immediately. Some of you might think I'm gonna just be the hero of Drag Drive and tell you it's a must-play. I'm going to really try and do neither of those. I'm going to give you a very fair, very honest, and very detailed look at if this game is worth your $20. And given that the Switch 2 is a new console, there's not a ton to play. Do you want to play this? Should you pick it up? I think it's a very interesting conversation, and there's definitely going to be some surprises along the way. But I promise you, straight up honesty and no free passes just because it's Nintendo. What's going on, everybody? It's Zach from SwitchForce. I have been dragging and I have been driving, and I want to make no mistake about it. I don't think Drag Drive is a 9. I don't think Drag Drive is an 8. I do think it's super important to consider that Drag Drive is a $20 title, and in evaluating this game, I have to consider Nintendo's purpose and plan and price in how I respond to this, because A, it really makes a difference, and B, it kind of will frame what Nintendo does going forward. Now, Drag Drive, look, the first thing about it is it works super well. Drag Drive has pretty darn precise controls for the mouse controls. You grab your Joy-Con like this and you're zooming either on your desk or on your legs. I think legs are way easier. Holding your arms like this and going like this over and over, like, dude, I tired out so freaking fast. And I do think one of the biggest negatives people are going to find with Drag Drive is like, this game is tiring. This is like mouse fit adventures all for your arms. And that can be a problem, and that can be annoying, especially when you sit down to relax and play a video game, and I'm sweating when I play Drag Drive. Now, let's also be super clear that Drag Drive, it's got one thing. It's got one thing, and this is what everyone's going to say is like, Drag Drive is boring, Drag Drive is stupid, what was the Nintendo thinking? Why didn't they just make something else? I get it. But at the same time, I don't get it, because I think Nintendo should be absolutely encouraged to explore. Look, Nintendo is selling you a $20 package. Okay, the last time they went in this price range, I believe, was Kirby's Dream Buffet, the game where Kirby would roll around. It was kind of like their attempt at like a half-baked Fall Guys, and it wasn't very good. But it was interesting, and it didn't get a ton of crap because it was priced in a way that was like, okay, this is more of a diversion, and it's not so great. I think Drag Drive is absolutely a diversion, and I think it's pretty good. I would in no way ever endorse paying $50, $60, $70 for this game. Then I would be making a totally different video. But you got to consider what this is. First of all, it's not the only August game. There's the Kirby and the Forgotten Land Switch 2 edition / DLC coming out at the end of the month. And Kirby and the Forgotten Land was one of the biggest surprises of the Switch 1 era, so I'm super excited for that. Now, Drag Drive, totally different, right? Totally different type of game. It's not like DK Bonanza. It's not a system seller. It's not like Mario Kart World. It is a one-trick pony. And I'm kind of surprised that they did like a one-trick pony this early on in the Switch 2 life cycle. I figured, you know, this would be a great piece of a Switch 2 sports package. This would be a great piece of a Nintendo Land 2 package. This would be a great piece of a bigger game where it could be just a piece of it and say, wow, this freaking Joy-Con thing, it works so well. The haptic feedback or the vibration, whatever, vibration 2.0, Joy-Con 2.0, of feeling like the tire treads going over the surface feels so freaking good. We're getting inundated by cats. I'm so sorry. It's a cat show today. But it's not, because you can wear cat ears in Drag Drive, so it's all planned. This is all part of it makes sense. 2 big cats and me. Anyhow, Drag Drive, I think the core concept is really cool. And I'm a little surprised, if I had to say, that Nintendo didn't expand upon this. I feel like if ARMS felt basic to you, Drag Drive is going to make ARMS feel like a full course meal. Drag Drive is a 3-on-3, 1 court, 1 mode, wheelchair basketball game, and that's it. Yeah, there's like a few side mini games that you can do. You'll see them throughout this video. There's like races, there's like go through the cones, there's jump rope, there's catch a ball shot really high into the air. But Drag Drive is one thing and one thing only, and that's like my biggest negative about the game. I think that Nintendo found a great use of the mouse controls, a great use of the Joy-Con 2.0, a great use to showcase the accuracy of the Joy-Con, a great way to showcase the fun feeling and the real great vibration of the haptics. I think then they stopped really short. I feel like they weren't given enough time, and I feel like they should have been given more. I think Drag Drive could have evolved into something stronger and superior if it was given more modes, if it was given more detail. Basically, all you can do in Drag Drive is wheel, pass, and shoot. That's it. And I'm not even sure how much control you have over the shot. Like, they just say, line it up and flick your wrist. And that's basically what it is. And then I don't know if there's a bit of a dice roll going on. I don't know if the angle of your hand matters. I think it's just the angle of your vehicle facing the basket. And that's really fun to just roll around and shoot. But there's not much to it. And it's pretty simple. And I think one of the worst things about it is that you're not very incentivized to pass. Because the game is pretty simple, it's pretty basic, it's wheel down the field and shoot. There's not really much incentive to involve your teammates, and a lot of times these games, which can start at 2-on-2 and then be 3-on-3, they devolve into like, hey, I'm going to wheel all the way down and shoot, you're going to wheel all the way down and shoot. I'm going to wheel all the way down and shoot, you're going to wheel all the way down and shoot. And there's not much teamwork or camaraderie there. It's more like it's fun to shoot and score and see the thing light up, and I want to get the points. They really underbaked the overall idea, but I guess I have to ask myself, how much baking does $20 necessitate? How much baking does $20 produce? And I don't think it's fair to compare $20 here to $20 for a sale, right? Yes, you could get Breath of the Wild sometimes for $20, and obviously that's a way better deal. Drag Drive right now is $20, and that's what it's going to be. And maybe there is a sale, maybe not. If Drag Drive was $5, I would say buy this thing immediately. I would. At $20, I'd say, it's got to be right for you, but I do applaud what Nintendo's doing. Now, one thing to consider is that Nintendo, they're in a gaming industry. They're not by themselves. For Nintendo, and I'm going to try to be really fair here, for Nintendo, a $20 game is super cheap. For Nintendo, a $20 game is like, wow, if I'm evaluating this in comparison to what Nintendo normally charges, I love them doing a $20 game. That's awesome. I kind of really want to support this regardless. But then I look around and I say, okay, well, Steam is giving us insane quality and value at $20. Nintendo should not be graded on a separate scale. So I can't really champion this game just because it's $20, and I can't really champion this game because it's great. I can't really champion this game because it has a ton of content, so I'm not going to champion the game. The one thing I am going to do, though, is tell you I don't think Drag Drive is horrible. I've seen so many reviews say this is a terrible game, and I don't think they're really considering or looking at what it is, because I enjoy playing Drag Drive. It's just a diversion. It's just a one-mode, one-trick pony. I don't really care about the mini-games. There's not a lot of teamwork, so I'm not incentivized to play with my friends. And I wish there was like different arenas. There's like some different costumes, right? You can have different armor. There's 3 different types of chairs, 3 different types of characters. There's basically like a guard, which is fast. There's a standard, which is just good at everything. And then there's a center, which is going to be better at blocking and knocking the ball loose. You have to line up your knocks really, really straight. If you're not hitting them straight on, the ball will not knock loose. You basically can shoot a 3-pointer, a 2-pointer, or a dunk. There's some ways to get really technical with it. You can do like a bunny hop by breaking with both hands and then lifting one, then the other. There are ways to improve, and there is a bit of like skill growth in the game, but it doesn't seem like it's so necessary. Like I mentioned, the game basically boils down to who can roll down the court faster, wheeling their arms, and then angle themselves right, and flick the wrist and shoot and score. That's all Drag Drive is, and that's where kind of it runs into a wall for me. I think it controls well. I think it's a fun idea. I think it's fun for like an hour. It's something that I would definitely pull out and play if I wanted to like burn off steam, right? Like, look, it's 120 degrees outside here in Phoenix. I'm not going outside. But if I was like, you know what? This day has sucked. I'm frustrated. Let's get a Drag Drive match in here. Grab myself a freaking minigame ring, or grab myself the leading score ring. Get all these rings for doing well. That could be a fun way to get a little bit of physical exercise and, like I said, blow off some steam, get some frustration out. I don't see Drag Drive as a party trick. I don't see Drag Drive as a great game for you to play online with your friends. Drag Drive definitely is not a single-player star. It doesn't really have an ace in the hole. It's very much what it is on the surface, and that's all. But I think there is fun to be had there, and I think it's interesting to see the idea Nintendo tried to put forth. Honestly, I think the Metacritic is pretty fair. But I think the way they're talking about it is like it's this horrible, abysmal one of Nintendo's worst games, and I just don't think that's the case. Is a 6.5 what I would probably give Drag Drive? Yes. If it was in a world where Steam didn't exist, I might bump that up to a 7.5, but because Steam exists, and I know that there's plenty of value to be had for $20, I can't give Nintendo a pass there. I won't. So it's like a 6.5 for me, because I do think it's enjoyable and fun. I just find it bizarre that Nintendo did not expand upon this idea. And if you're looking for something to do with your Switch 2, it feels like a lot of people are. Mario Kart World, despite selling insanely well, may have worn out its welcome faster, definitely faster than Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. DK Bonanza, I think, is a Game of the Year contender, so if you haven't played that, that's what I would play. But if you're waiting for the next slew announcements, if you're waiting for the next release date gauntlet, Drag Drive is not a bad time, especially at $20. You're paying $20 for maybe 2 hours of fun. You could pay $20 to go to the movie and have 2 hours of fun. If you think about it from that point of view, it's not really a terrible deal. I don't think it's the greatest use of your money, but I also don't think it's this like, oh my gosh, we got to crap on it. We got to crap on Nintendo. What the heck were they thinking? I'm just surprised they didn't build out more. Look, everything is so expensive these days. I kind of look at what amount of fun and enjoyment am I getting for my dollar value. And like I said, the movie comparison is good. I can go sit in a nice, cool theater and I can watch a movie for probably $20. If I want to get like a snack popcorn, it's going to cost me an extra 10. But for Drag Drive for $20, like I feel like I had my fun with it. I feel like I had a good time, and I'll probably bring it out when my brothers come over. I'll probably show them. I think it is a good way to like, hey, look what the Switch 2 can do. But it's definitely not that like showpiece game where you want to get your grandma and grandpa involved. It's definitely not that like system seller where you're like, hey, I'm going to show you this, and then you're going to want to buy a Switch 2. It's kind of like ARMS without the personality and less gameplay, even though ARMS already had so little gameplay. Like ARMS I thought was an awesome first year title because it showed what the Switch could do in some nifty, unique ways, and it provided a multiplayer component at a time where there wasn't a ton of multiplayer offerings, and there weren't a bunch of third-party games just chomping at the bit to be on Switch 1, so Nintendo delivered something unique. But ARMS was lambasted because it was a full-price title, and it didn't have a ton of content. So here they tried something different where they're like, it's not going to be a full-price title, but it's also going to have way less content, but it's going to have like a quirky, fun idea that's pretty interesting. Now, I would argue that the ARMS idea is much more fleshed out and therefore a more interesting idea. Drag Drive, if it was fleshed out as much as ARMS and $20, I think I'd be calling this my hidden gem. If Drag Drive, let's see, if it had like personable characters, if it had multiple modes, if it had different ways to play, if it had like theming at all, if it had an overarching like menu and like just some Nintendo charm and Nintendo polish, I would feel much better about it. As it stands, it's like kind of tech demo category, but it does work really well. You're not going to have issues or inaccuracy. It just feels like a weird offering from Nintendo where it's like, okay, we're charging you for Welcome Tour, which is sort of a tech demo, and then we went one step further and made a better tech demo, and it's $20. And in a world where only Nintendo existed, like, hey, yeah, $20 compared to 70 or 80, that's a steal. And you could have a couple hours of fun, and maybe it's a low investment thing that you can do for a weekend. But that's not the world we live in. We live in a world where there's plenty of other options, plenty of other offerings, and your $20 can get you something with much more longevity, much more value, much more replayability, and much more fun, whether it's single player or multiplayer, than what Drag Drive will offer you. I'm not mad that I bought Drag Drive, but I'm also not going to tell you to buy Drag Drive. If you're desperate for something to play on your Switch 2 and you want something that can only be played there, I think you can get your money's worth because it's $20. If you're expecting a really great Switch 2 game, you're expecting something that's going to last you more than just a few hours, skip it. Save your money for that Kirby DLC, and that $20 you might find for the average person is a much better, well-spent value. But it's quirky, it's nifty, it gets the heart rate going, and I do find myself impressed with the accuracy. I just wish that they had invested more. It feels like they went so narrow, so shallow, and Nintendo often, they're a company I feel that excels at mining depth out of a simple idea, yet here they just executed a simple idea simply. It's kind of a weird look for Nintendo. Thank gosh it's priced at $20, otherwise the internet would be going crazy, but it's not terrible. That's my review of Drag Drive. Hopefully it gives you a good idea if you want to pick it up, if you want to play it. Don't feel bad if you do, but also don't feel bad if you don't. Let me know if you're going to grab Drag Drive in the comments down below, how you feel about the game now that you've seen gameplay and heard my review and feelings. Until next time, everybody, we'll wait for the next Switch 2 game. Thanks so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay happy, stay positive out there. Love you lots. SwitchForce out.